This is the 5 a.m. Miracle, episode number 446. Creativity can solve anything. How to brainstorm your path to achievement. Good morning and welcome to the 5 a.m. Miracle. I am Jeff Sanders and this is the podcast dedicated to dominating your day before breakfast. My goal is to help you bounce out of bed with enthusiasm, create powerful, lifelong habits, and tackle your grandest goals with extraordinary energy. In the episode this week, I'll break down why creativity is such an undervalued tool for solving big problems, how you can leverage creative thinking to fix just about anything in your life right now, and how to get past the mental roadblocks that are preventing your biggest successes. Let's get to it. Now, before we jump in, I think my intro was a little bit too hyped up. I don't know, too much caffeine today? Maybe. We'll see, but look out. Put on your seatbelt. Here we go. This is the 5 a.m. Miracle episode number 446. I want to talk today about creativity. What if you knew you could do anything? Yes, that means anything. That's the power you have and the power that creativity can unleash within you. Everything is impossible until it isn't. Every problem is a dead end until it's not. So whatever you're dealing with, you can overcome it. You can solve it. I had a guest on last fall named Roger Firestein who talked all about creativity. He's written books about it. He has lectured about it. He is a professor of creativity, in essence. And he has studied this topic his entire life. And one of the things that really stood out to me back then that I have not forgotten about since then is this power of creativity. The power to be able to solve your life's problems and difficulties or to see opportunities and to seize them simply by being a little bit imaginative, a little bit creative, a little bit over the top in some ways. Or you could really phrase it this way. Creativity is a willingness to look silly, to be goofy, to do things that are a little bit awkward in the pursuit of trying to figure out, what works and what doesn't and why. And that pursuit of problem solving, in essence, is what allows you to actually solve problems, achieve big goals, and propel yourself to the next level. So this week, I want to talk about the power of creativity, how it really can solve anything in your life, and how brainstorming can become the best possible secret to creativity that you're probably not using in the best possible way. So first, let's get to what creativity actually is, and then we'll begin to unpack a little more about how to leverage its potential. According to Google, creativity is the use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in regards to artistic work. Also, it could be called the tendency to generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems. I want to focus on that second aspect. The first one is the most common. We all tend to associate creativity with artistic ability, but we don't always associate creativity with common everyday issues. And that's where it has the most power. That's where it's going to have power for you as well. From my perspective, it also can brighten your life with fresh perspectives. And that's where I get the most energy and excitement and enthusiasm from creativity is that newness, that freshness. And so yes, you can solve problems, but you can also brighten your life up. In regards to productivity, of course, creativity can improve efficiency. It can allow you to get things done in a better and faster way. It can reduce friction and build systems, and those are all wonderful. And that's kind of the structure or foundation of getting things done in general. And creativity enhances those things and makes them even better. But of course, then we get to what creativity really can be. It is building something new and original. And so one thing that I find that always surprises me is how surprising creativity is when it comes to the newness of it. When you can take something that's old and make it new, it feels new again. I literally just painted the bathrooms in my house last weekend, and they feel like different bathrooms. They feel better and new and fresh. The colors are brighter, and the rooms themselves feel like new rooms. And all it was a coat of paint. That's it. So most of the things in your life you're thinking of, this could be a really difficult problem, or I feel like I can't ever solve this. Maybe the solution is just a simple coat of paint. And that's where creativity really begins to shine, is these simple solutions, these simple, creative, not necessarily original ideas, but just something that's new to you that can bring your life back to life. And so when I think about creativity, I'm thinking about that newness, that freshness, that ability for creative thought to make my life new again. That's what we want, especially when it comes to old problems or nagging issues that, for whatever reason, have bugged you for such a long time. Well, what if you approach that old problem from a new perspective? What if it had some bright, fresh colors on it? What if all of a sudden your life wasn't a difficult just crawl through the mud, but instead was an opportunity to do old things in new ways or to do new things altogether? That's what creativity is a daily pursuit of living life in a new way. You know, one of the things that I have loved the most about personal growth over the years is the newness that I get from fresh new ideas. I get the challenge to think differently. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is how you think about your life and your world around you, how you interact with the world that you live in. And if you view it in the same way every day, it will feel the same every day. But if you view it in a new way, you change the lens through which you see the world, and all of a sudden the world is different because you see it differently. So yes, creativity can solve anything. Any problem that you have, creativity can address it. Any issue you're experiencing, someone else probably already solved it using creative thought. Because creativity is the foundation for all the things you're going to be doing. Now let's shift gears and talk about the specifics. How you can leverage creativity in your life and work each and every day. I have a few ideas here I want to share with you that I think will be practical and applicable to your life right now. And let's begin with the first thought, which is that identifying as a creative person is the foundation of creativity itself. You don't think about creative thoughts unless you first believe that creativity is possible for you. It's nearly impossible to be creative or to be an artist if you believe that you are not one now or you can't become one. Todd Henry has a great book called The Accidental Creative, where he talks all about this. And I read his book years ago, and it changed my thinking in regards to creativity because I started to believe that I was creative, that I was an artist. And that has carried with me ever since. When you change your identity and you believe that you are creative because you are, that you are an artist because you are, you have brilliant ideas that are inside you that all you have to do is let loose. This is the thing. First, believe it's possible, and then just see what happens. You know, one of the things that really changed my perspective on creativity was letting go of trying to be perfect. And I am terrible at this, but this is the challenge of my life, is to not try to do everything at an A+ level all the time. And when that pressure is reduced or removed, well, all of a sudden, anything is possible. You can do anything, pursue anything through any means to get to the end result, as long as it's ethical and practical in real life. But that's the key thing, is you let yourself think about what is possible. You open the door to imagination itself, which, by the way, is a locked door if you choose to keep it locked. Creativity is available to everyone. That includes you. All you have to do is open the door. And I can tell you that if you're trying to stay perfect or be perfect or check every box or do everything at an A+ level, creativity will escape you. You're not going to see it. If you're too busy all the time, if you're trying to do too many things at once, creativity will elude you. It will not show up because you're not going to give it the room to breathe. That's where creativity thrives, when things slow down. So first, identify as a creative person. Then, look for bigger problems or challenges or opportunities in your life to apply creative thought to fix those problems or solve those challenges or pursue the opportunities. Now, once you believe that you are creative, the fun thing then is you have then changed the lens through which you see the world, and all of a sudden, you can then apply that creative thought to the things in your world. So you begin by identifying something that really bugs you or a goal you really want to achieve, and then you begin to ask those questions. Well, how could I solve that problem? How could I achieve that big goal? What would have to be possible for those things to exist? As opposed to the opposite way of thinking, which is, that big problem is just huge, I can't solve it. That big goal, too ambitious, can't do it. If your thinking is, I can't, I won't, that's impossible, well then it is impossible. It is a can't, it is a won't. But you flip the script. What if it were possible? How could it be possible? What would have to be true to make it come to life? As a creative person, when you're looking for these big problems and opportunities, you're not just looking to identify them, but to imagine them at their conclusion. Imagine the problem being solved, or the opportunity being seized, or the goal being achieved. When you can see the finish line, you can then be creative on how you get there. And that's the opportunity here. You identify as someone who is creative, and then you see the path forward. This is where the fun really kicks in. And this is where step 3 kicks in, which is to brainstorm your way to new possibilities. So here's where it gets practical. It's one thing to know of a problem or a goal you want to achieve. It's another to see the path forward in specifics. And this is where me, as a productivity guy, really gets excited because I love the checklist, I love steps, I love to see the possibilities, but I have to first identify what those are and write them down. And the best way to tackle a really difficult problem, or to see the end result of a really big goal, is to write down everything in your brain. To do a brain dump, as David Allen would say. You would let it all out there. Now, this could be through a daily journaling process, or through a very specific brainstorming session where you take a whiteboard or a notebook and you write down one question at the top. What is the big thing you're trying to achieve? And you spend the next 30 minutes to an hour doing nothing but answering that question. Now, the crazy part here is that you'll have ideas right away on what the answers could be, but you'll spend about 2 to 3 minutes writing down those obvious answers. And the rest of the entire session is going to be way more difficult, because this is where creativity happens. You're not going to get super creative in the first 30 seconds. It takes a while. You have to really go through all the obvious answers before the less obvious answers show up, before the really creative, wacky, imaginative, fantastical, bizarre answers begin to show up. And at first, you're going to want to cut those ideas. You're going to want to ignore them or say, no, that's too crazy, too far out there. But the whole goal of a creative brainstorming session is that there are no rules. There's no limits here. You let yourself write down everything. You put the whole thing out there, because you'll filter later. You'll get realistic down the road. But during these sessions, there are no filters. You just let it go. And this is where it gets really fun. It gets goofy, it gets wacky, it gets off the top. And that's the whole thing, is that this is a fun process. If you approach brainstorming or creative work from a stressed out standpoint or a really analytical standpoint, you're going to miss the opportunity to get the really good ideas, which come from a fun, open, happy environment that leads to you being more creative because you're willing to go there. And that's where the best stuff shows up. So as you go through these sessions and you have these ideas that seem kind of wacky, just keep going. And when your ideas seem super crazy, keep going even then. Do not stop until your session is over. And then you can pause and come back a day or two later. And that's when you filter for, what am I actually going to do? Which ideas really spoke to me? Where did I feel really compelled to want to move forward? Because there are going to be some ideas that stand out. They're the obvious ones you'll throw away, but the really good ones, those will stand out. Those you'll pursue, and then brainstorming has directly addressed the problem at hand. It has led to creative thought that now has a real possible solution. Now, step number 4 is to enhance your creative process by being the kind of person who is more creative at the foundation of your healthy self. What does that mean? It means get moving. A healthy brain is more creative. Someone who sleeps well is more creative. Someone who works out, eats healthy foods, lowers your stress, frees up time to daydream, and slows down the overall pace of life. Those are the kinds of people who have more creative thought because their brains have the space to breathe. This is the magic. You cannot be an overly programmed type A high achiever who is moving 24/7 and thinking that somehow in the middle of that crazy lifestyle, you're going to solve anything. Because you're not going to. You're just going to continue to be stressed out. The creativity that really makes things move, well, it doesn't happen until the pace slows down. This is one of my personal biggest challenges. Like, I love to check boxes. I love to keep moving. I love to fill my calendar. But I'm also highly aware that that's counter to the things I want. It is actually working against me. If you're that kind of person, where you just have your calendar completely filled, where you are always the kind of person who is moving forward, that's great, but you may need to rethink your schedule. You may need to build in more margin, more free time, more healthy activity time to allow the creative process to really begin to shine. So when I said earlier to schedule a brainstorming session and you thought to yourself, I can't add anything else to my calendar, it's already full, that's a problem. That's the first thing to work on. Once you have the space for the actual brainstorming session, then you can utilize it and begin to think more creatively about how to have more of those sessions, because that's what you need, right? It's like the old adage that if you can't meditate for 10 minutes, do it for an hour. Because if you can't do the small stuff, the big stuff will never happen. So if you're not as healthy as you can be, or you're overly programmed on your calendar and your life just feels hectic and chaotic and messy, you need a creative solution to figure out why your life is so chaotic, why you're not as healthy as possible. And these are common problems. I mean, heck, even I go through these challenges all the time. And then I use creative problem solving to figure out how to get past the next hurdle, how to find a bigger picture solution. And yes, being healthy is a big part of that. Having margin in the calendar is a very big part of that. Because I know that my best ideas happen, yes, in the shower, or on a trail run, or in the backyard, or going for a walk in the neighborhood. They don't happen in my office. They happen when I'm letting myself live my life. So if you don't have those moments, build them in. Prioritize them. Make them central to who you are and how you live, because that's where the best parts of life show up. Now, the fifth idea to leverage creativity in your life is to consume out-of-the-box information. This is where personal growth really shines. You're going to read new books, talk to new people, attend new conferences, watch weird YouTube videos, right? Get out of your usual habits to learn something new, which could include you practicing a new skill, learning a new language or an instrument or a new sport. You're going to do something that's not who you've been. Now, maybe you go back to an old habit and make it new again. That's possible. Or even better is you actually explore some new part of your life, some new part of your mind, your body. You begin to open up the possibility that you're becoming a new person, that you in 5 years will be very different than the you of today or the you of 5 years ago. This is where personal growth is the best, because it allows you to grow, and growth requires newness. Growth requires work and requires stretching and requires awkward, embarrassing, weird, goofy experiences, because that's where you discover your new limits, your next level up. It all comes from the willingness to try something different. So if you felt like your life has been in a rut, if you felt like you've been stuck, if every day feels the same as every other day, you gotta do something different. And creativity can be that solution, and it comes from changing what goes into your mind, changing your behaviors, changing your habits, changing your schedule. Change is the thing. The more that you change, the more that you explore new possibilities, the more that creativity gets baked into your life. The more you begin to think about how you could continue to change, continue to evolve and progress forward. And then that's when you become a newer and better version of yourself each and every day. And one of the best ways I have found to make that happen for myself is to change my environment. So the sixth way to leverage creativity is to go somewhere new. Yes, you want to read new books. Yes, talk to new people, but specifically go somewhere new. Get out of your house. You've been stuck there for a long time, like I have the last few years. Travel somewhere, see the world, work outside in the backyard, go to a new park this weekend, plan a new vacation somewhere that's completely new to you. When you change your environment, you literally change everything about what you see and hear and taste and smell. It's all new. It's all different. And that newness is what allows you to grow and make connections in areas you never thought were possible before. Changing your environment changes your mind, it changes your perspective, it changes so much about who you are and how you see the world. And finally, the seventh way to leverage creativity in your life is to bake creativity in as a habit. Plan ahead every day to be creative. Schedule sessions to brainstorm on a regular basis. Open up your calendar just to think and then write down whatever pops into your head. Creative people are living as creative people each and every day because it's part of who they are. So if you've not been creative before, if you have believed it's impossible for you, I am telling you, you can change. You can grow, you can progress, you can think differently, imagine new possibilities, and actually experience the results from that lifestyle change. So make creativity part of who you are now and who you're going to be tomorrow. And for the action step this week, yes, go schedule your next session to brainstorm new creative ideas. Book an hour on your calendar and plan ahead now to solve a big problem or to pursue a really big, awesome goal. Get your team together or do it alone. Either way, just get those ideas flowing, no matter how crazy they seem, because nothing is off limits. Nothing. jeffsanders.com/446 is the place to go for the episode notes. And of course, subscribe to this podcast in the app you're using right now. And that's all I've got for you here on the 5 a.m. Miracle Podcast this week. Until next time, you have the power to change your life. And the fun begins bright and early.